In a room where billionaires toasted their victories with gold-rimmed glasses, one quiet refusal shattered the illusion of control. "Please, can I get something soft?" The waiter blinked. The music didn't falter, but across the room, Obefune Godwin's smile froze, and his eyes, those empire-building eyes, found his son. To everyone else, it was nothing. To Obefune, it was rebellion. The first crack in the statue he'd spent 18 years sculpting. Alex had just turned 18 and was in his second year at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, studying mass communication, much to his father's absolute horror. Obefune had wanted his son to study something manlier, something worthy of his status. But all Alex wanted was distance. As much distance as possible from the man who had shaped his DNA, but not his soul. The cruel irony wasn't lost on anyone. Although Alex was the spitting image of Obefune, the same striking features, the same commanding height, he was nothing like the man who had created him. He lacked the character, the presence, the ruthless edge that made Obefune who he was. Each time his father looked at him, Alex could see it. The disappointment, the confusion. Obefune probably wondered how on earth he'd brought such a soft creature into the world. If Alex hadn't looked exactly like him, DNA tests would have been ordered without hesitation. By some twist of fate, Alex seemed to despise everything his father treasured. He detested alcohol, never kept late nights, and frowned upon any form of dishonesty, even if it promised massive profits. And the thing that pained Obefune most of all? Alex avoided romantic entanglements entirely. His father was convinced something was terribly, irreversibly wrong with his son. This shareholders' party was actually Alex's first official company event. When he'd received that urgent phone call at school, Alex had made the university his true home, a sanctuary from the family drama. He'd thought something tragic had happened. He'd abandoned everything and raced home to his family. But when he discovered the real reason for the summons, Alex almost jumped on the next bus back to school. "You are of age now," Obefune had declared. "It's time to introduce you to the business." Alex had been perplexed and furious that his father was perfectly well, contrary to what the phone call had implied. "Dad, you know I'm not interested in this family tussle. I just want to find my own way." "Shut up, boy." "What way?" "From where I'm standing, it looks like you're heading straight into the bush. Who's going to take care of the business when I'm gone, eh?" Even though Alex had heard that thunderous baritone voice his entire life, it still made him shudder. "Dad, you have 3 other children, and one of them is already working for, or with you. He happens to be your first son. You are also my son, something that you are ashamed of." The words escaped before Alex could stop them. He immediately regretted them. Obefune paused and fixed his son with one of those long, soul-penetrating stares that sent chills racing down anyone's spine. Alex braced for an explosion, but his father's voice came out eerily calm. "I am a man of power. The mere mention of my name causes ripples in every industry in this country and beyond. But I wasn't born into this power. No. I crawled my way from the bottom, from the very creaks of society, to the top. My background was disreputable, but I changed all that. I brought respect to my name. But you were born into affluence, born into power. Yet you don't even know how to harness what you have. How did I ever end up with a son like you? People look at you, and they know you're my blood, yet you are nothing like me. How did this even happen?" Alex had heard this rant countless times before, but what he couldn't understand was why his father refused to accept Nonso, the son who did take after him. Nonso always followed orders and was thriving in the company. Why wasn't that enough? Alex wanted to scream that he didn't want to be like his father. He didn't want to be a ruthless businessman and a serial womanizer. But he couldn't say that. Not while Obefune still paid the bills. So Alex surrendered in defeat, hanging his head low, staring down at his shoes like a scolded child. During the shareholders' party, Obefune had introduced both Nonso and Alex as his sons, clearly hinting that they represented the next generation who would inherit the company's reins. Judging by the startled look that flashed across Beatrice's face, Obefune hadn't bothered to discuss his plans to elevate Alex alongside her precious son. However, Nonso seemed completely unbothered by the announcement. He raised his wine glass toward Alex's, but since Alex had no drink, Nonso simply nodded, brought the glass to his lips, and drained it in one smooth gulp. Then, in the midst of cheers and murmurs following the announcement, Alex made a fatal mistake. He glanced back at Beatrice and found her glaring at him with pure, undiluted hatred. Her eyes shot fiery darts that made him reflexively flinch, and he caught her lips parting in an evil grin that chilled him to the bone. God, how he hated his family. Truly, deeply hated them. When the spotlight shifted back to Obefune, Alex stole away from the crowd, desperate for solace. He bumped into his stepsister, Jennifer, the only agreeable person in his entire family apart from Empress, who managed to get on everyone's nerves while remaining the darling of all. Jenny, as everyone called her, had just graduated with first-class honors that year in economics. She was brilliant and cheerful. The only traits she shared with her parents were her mother's looks and her father's surname. She would be joining the company after completing an 8-month internship. Fortunately for her, as a woman, she wouldn't have to deal with the brutal politics that consumed the men in the family. "He took you by surprise," she said when Alex joined her. He nodded and managed a dry smile. "It was bound to happen. Mum looked like she was going to punch the lights out of you and Dad. She laughed, but there was no humor in it." Now that's what I'm trying to avoid. She thinks I'm in competition with Nonso, but I'm not. I don't want any part of this. I just want to be my own person. Jenny nodded in understanding and used her glass to gesture toward their father, who was approaching with someone Alex didn't recognize. "Dad would be happy if you entered into competition with Nonso. You know he thrives on that kind of drama. And here he comes." "Here you are! I've been looking for you everywhere. I thought you'd disappeared." Obefune roared with laughter as if he'd told the world's greatest joke. He had a young woman draped on his arm like an accessory. She laughed shyly, but both Alex and Jenny glared at them with inherited insolence. How dare he flirt with this girl while his wife was present? Did the man have no boundaries, no limits? Certainly not where Beatrice could see. These thoughts plagued Alex's mind as he continued to glare at his father. Jenny undoubtedly shared the same thoughts, or worse. After all, Beatrice was her mother, and they both remembered what had happened 18 years ago when Obefune had cradled a youngster like this. 2 step-siblings had emerged from that encounter. Obefune introduced the girl as Sharon something, but Alex wasn't interested in her name. Jenny excused herself and fled. "Alex, say hello to Sharon." Against every instinct, Alex turned to Sharon and deployed his most charming smile. He'd inherited all of his father's charisma, including that devastating power smile, but he rarely used these weapons. Still, he smiled at the girl to avoid embarrassing his father further. "Hello, Sharon. Pleased to meet you." He extended his hand. She took it and practically melted at his touch, but Alex made the handshake brutally brief to end the encounter as quickly as possible. When he returned his gaze to his father, he caught Obefune grinning with suspicious satisfaction. "What's this about?" Alex wondered. But before he could ask, his father whispered something to Sharon. She nodded, waved at Alex, and walked back into the crowd. "I've been discussing with Chief about partnering with him on that other division I told you about." Obefune had been telling Alex about various business plans, but Alex never paid attention. However, right then, he wondered what Sharon had to do with any business deal. You see, Obifune Godwin didn't just run a business. He had tentacles in virtually every industry in the country. Manufacturing, importation, clothing, shoes, real estate, departmental stores, education, music production. Recently, he'd bought a large secondary school with plans for complete remodeling. But the crown jewel of his empire was publishing. Book publishing specifically. Obifune had once been an ardent scholar who believed in spreading knowledge. Now, Alex suspected, he believed more in amassing wealth. We want to expand into oil and gas. It's incredibly lucrative. I've always wanted to venture into that sector. Chief is one of my key contacts in that industry. We have a casual relationship, but I plan to change that. For business purposes. Then Obifune placed his hand on Alex's shoulder, and Alex knew with absolute certainty that he'd been chosen as the catalyst to make his father's lofty ambitions reality. He didn't know exactly what was coming, but he knew he wouldn't like it. I'll need your help in that area, son. What do you need me to do? Obifune gave him a toothy grin. Oh God. Alex knew that expression far too well. Disaster was about to strike. You see that Sharon girl? He pointed into the crowd. She's Chief's only daughter and quite a pumpkin. He grinned wider, but Alex maintained a stone-cold expression. The thing is, she has a crush on you. Alex's eyes widened, but he remained silent. You see, I've been looking for an opening to become best friends with Chief. And then I spotted the girl. I was considering pursuing her myself. He paused, savoring the moment, but then I noticed her looking at you. I cornered her and extracted a confession. That's one of my special skills. His smile grew even more sinister, but Alex's face remained impassive. I know she's a bit older than you, but you've come of age. You've come of age, son. What exactly do you want me to do? Talk to her for you? Talk to her for me? What nonsense are you speaking? I don't need anyone to talk to girls for me. I want you to talk to her for you. Get close to her. Ask her out. I'm not interested in asking a stranger out. Shut your mouth. I'm demanding that you find that interest and do as you're told. For the family. Alex physically stepped away from his father. For the family? You want me to ask a girl out just to serve your business ambitions and you call it for the family? No, Dad. It's not for the family. It's for your pocket and your ego. Everything you do is purely selfish. It took every ounce of willpower Alex possessed not to walk away right then and there. You think I do everything for myself alone? The house you live in, your food, clothes, education? Name them. Every privilege you and your siblings enjoy comes from my hard work. You ungrateful boy. You consume everything I provide but refuse to lift a finger to contribute anything. If it were Nonso, he would jump at this opportunity. He understands how things work in this family. Well then, why don't you take your splendid idea to him? Why always come to me, your less graceful son? When people look at you, they see a successor. My successor. I've been trying to mold you into my image, but that seems to be the only skill I've failed to master. Instead of trying to make me into you, why don't you let me become my own man? Must every one of your children be another Obiefune? Obifune would have slapped him. Alex could see it in his father's eyes, the rage building to that familiar breaking point. But they were surrounded by business partners and investors. In front of them, the family must present a united front. It was vital for the empire's image. You bastard! How did I end up with a weakling like you? Obifune wagged his finger inches from Alex's face, delivering his final blow. This is no longer up for discussion. Get close to that girl and give me the access I need to make my move on her father, or consider yourself no longer a member of my family. And with that devastating ultimatum, he walked away. Alex nodded as he watched his father's retreating figure disappear into the crowd. In that moment, Watching the man who had given him life threaten to take away his identity, Alex made his decision. It would take every ounce of power he possessed to follow through with it.